make sure I had this going and make sure it is recording with that. So, all right, good morning, committee members and other parties of interest. This is the oral presentations to be presented by Rozin, and I wanted to get the full name here. It is Rozin Security Consulting LLC. This is for request for proposals, RFP-24-24865, the security risk assessment for the library services department. Active participation will be for the firm and the committee members only. I do not believe, okay, good. We don't have any advisors online, so we're good there. The meeting is being recorded to be made available for the members of the public desiring to have access to view the recording after the meeting. So that'll be at a later date when all the oral presentations have been completed. Please be advised that the cone of silence is still in effect. All meetings and correspondence still need to be directed to my attention and mine only. And as a matter of housekeeping, we are using media communications technology. We're good. So keep your cameras off if you guys are logged into the meetings. If not, we should be good to go. All right. My name is Sakina Ford, and I'm the chief buyer for this project. For the record, the meeting again is being recorded for later provisions. At this time, I'm going to ask each of the committee members to introduce themselves, and we will begin with our committee chair, Jennifer.
Hi, my name is Jen Cable. I am the project manager of safety and security for all the Hillsborough County libraries.
Hi, good afternoon, Mike. Hal Friend, security manager in the facilities department.
And he Grimes, I'm the contracts manager for the library.
And then with procurement, we also have
Christy Alessino, procurement operations coordinator.
Okay. And then we will go ahead and get ready to get started here. We are going to give our presenter a total of 45 minutes. 30 minutes of that will be for your presentation and then 15 minutes for questions and answers. We'll start timing the presentation once you've gotten yourself started, and we'll give you a heads up when we're getting close to that 2-minute mark so you know where we are. And then immediately following the presentation, we'll move on to that question and answer portion. And we'll track that as well for that 15 minutes. I am going to go ahead and hand this off to Rozin's team, which it just ends up being Michael, I believe, and let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, perfect. Well, good afternoon. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be part of this project potentially. My name is Michael Rozin. I'm a president of Rozin Security Consulting. Background, I've been security, law enforcement, counterterrorism, target violence prevention business over 24 years. I'm from Israel, served in Israel Defense Forces and Special Operations Unit, worked for Israeli government. From there, moved to the United States, had a chance to work in Minnesota as a consultant, a manager for Mall of America. There, opened with my partner, Rozin Security Consulting. We've been operating this company now for 15 years. Helping organizations throughout the United States, many government clients and non-government clients, to prevent targeted violence and improve overall security of their organizations. I'm also a special deputy with Hennepin County Sheriff's Office in Minnesota, where I serve in a volunteer position. I support crime information sharing analysis unit. I'm also an instructor, professor at University of Minnesota. I teach 2 graduate level courses. I also sit on the board of University of Tampa criminology program. Let's see, what else do I do? I think that's probably good. I'm a certified threat manager with Association of Threat Assessment Professionals in the United States. So that's about me.
Okay, we can go ahead and let you get started on your presentation.
I can ask a process question.
Sure.
Are we supposed to hold questions till the end, or?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, I'll jump in. You have this presentation that you can follow as I go through. In front of us, so who we are, Rozin Security Consulting, and what do we do? Rozin Security has been in business now for 15 years, celebrating our 15th year this year. We are professional security consulting, training, protection intelligence firm. We support clients in both public and private sector. Very well familiar with organizations like yourself. We have supported many counties in the United States, performed over 1,000 individual risk assessments of various government buildings. The team that is in this proposal here has prepared this presentation, has performed over 200 assessments as a team together of buildings similar in scope and nature of what is required in this proposal. We have 7 million plus in annual revenue. We're a stable company. We have no debts. We're here. We're not going anywhere is the point of this. The personnel in our company that's going to be working with you and overall will come from both security agencies in the United States and abroad, and from academia that we have trained and built the capability within house. The team members that I outlined here, myself, ultimately, I'll be responsible for this project. I'm the project executive. We have Rob Rozin, who's our vice president. He is going to serve the role of senior security consultant. We have Carly, who's also local, and myself. She will be one of the security consultants. Matthew, who's also certified, board certified through ASIS, and he's going to be one of the security consultants. Nick, we have two Nicks. One more Nick that I did not put here. Will serve a role as a security consultant and intelligence analyst, and there are other team members not included in this graph that will be supporting this project. What's nice about this team here is that this is not a randomly assembled team, and this type of project is not new to us. This team has performed over 200 plus individual assessments of similar buildings and scope as we're intended to do. As part of our most common services when it comes to consulting work is this idea of assessment, planning, preparing, design, and training. This is a common suite of services that we perform for many of our government clients, where we start working from the standpoint of assessment. We conduct a security risk assessment, just like the one proposed here. We develop a security master plan based on assessment, gradual implementation plan. And sometimes we support our clients with implementations, with design and implementation of those security solutions. In fact, we're in a process right now of 2 different government entities in Florida, where we are doing just that. And from there, sometimes organizations continue to work with us from the standpoint of training and preparedness. We would like to have ongoing relationships, and we would like to use those assessments as a foundation for ongoing support for your organization. We believe that an effective security strategy is a proactive one. And I think that's one of the differences that you will find here with Rozin Security, is our true focus on prevention. We believe that the best security strategy is the one that is focused on preventing security incidents of the relevant type from happening in the first place. And we believe that psychology plays a major role, and a human factor plays a major role in to achieving those goals. And I'll explain why this is in a second. When we conduct our assessments and we prioritize our recommendations for you, and we design a security strategy, our recommendations are prioritized based on the strategy of deterrence, detection, prevention, and response being important, but the last objective animal, meaning solutions that are geared towards deterrence of relevant threat actors. Solutions that are geared towards detection of those might intend to cause harm, and preventing potential malicious events from transpiring in your libraries are the solutions we prioritize first over reactive solutions. We believe that true proactiveness stems from the ability of organizations like yourself to focus on in the phases before, whether it's a theft, a violent incident, or anything else transpiring in your libraries happening. That's the focus of our team. What we propose here is a security risk assessment. The way we look at risk and risk in the security world is a function of assets, threats, and vulnerabilities. And this is how we have a proprietary methodology behind this concept that allows us to both qualify and describe what is the actual risk that you're facing in the libraries, but also quantify this risk, which is very important. Quantifying this risk. Quantifying the risk really helps us create a platform for prioritizing of what recommendations need to go first, second, third, and fourth, and which actually of your libraries require most immediate versus not approach. This is important. Sometimes you might review and analyze proposals from other competing competitors that are often focused on simply listing the observed vulnerabilities and listing observed recommendations. That's a very tough approach because it's unlikely you as a county to have unlimited resources to simply snap your fingers and make all those recommendations come true. Nor is it necessary for all the recommendations to come true right away, quite frankly. This is why risk-based strategy is the right intelligent way to approach security. This is what you're going to get from us. We are very good at that. Our methodology is both defensible and quite effective. And I think that those two are very important concepts. Now, why is it important on a practical level? Besides the fact that you need to know how to implement the recommendations, in what order. Also, library from library, I argue not going to have the same risk. The level of vulnerabilities in one library, the type of threats one library faces, and even sometimes maybe there are unique assets from library to library that you might have not in another one. Those factors, threat, assets, and vulnerabilities, change the level of risk library from library have. Now, the reason that's important to identify and prioritize properly is if you were to apply one blanket strategy right now that apply the same security measures for all of your libraries, period, whatever that strategy might be. What's going to happen is, because your libraries, you would agree, probably don't have the same risk. What's going to happen is on some libraries, you'll overspend money for no apparent reason. On other libraries, you will underspend money. And that is probably the bigger concern, because that typically results in security incidents happening. So the risk-based approach allows you to properly prioritize your dollars and invest the dollars in a way that actually addresses your most relevant risk. And that's what you will get by engaging with us. As I mentioned earlier, the human factor plays a big role in our focus and what we will provide for you. It is because when we think about violence, quite frankly, even beyond violence, many other type of events that you might have concern when it comes to protection of your libraries is the fact that for any of those malicious events to transpire, there are two factors that typically play a role. There is a person with malicious intent to cause harm, and then there's some sort of tool or means they use to cause harm with. Too often, security consultants and security managers prioritize the most obvious, the most definite item, which is the means for the attack. And we think about security solutions that are able to address the means in a way that can help us respond to it when it's used, or detect it before it's used, or minimize the impact if and when it's used. And what happens with that is we often see imbalance in a security design, where we prioritize physical measures, we prioritize technological measures, we not put enough attention on the human factor. And the result of that is been proven on many times. I can probably spend here a week talking about the results of this strategy. It's proven to be not very effective. The fact is, security operation is a matter of those three domains. It's a matter of, that's what we believe, of human factor. That's a combination of protocols, policies, procedures, security personnel, resources, their training, how they're deployed. And yes, physical measures and technological solutions that could be leveraged. But when we make the technological solutions and the physical measures the center point of our strategy, we are preparing to react to bad things happening. And many times that strategy results in very reactive solutions, and many times ineffective. And what we're not gonna not focus on physical measures and technological solutions, we'll make sure that it's balanced, where a human factor plays an essential role in a security, both from a standpoint of the psyche of the kind of concerns, the kind of threat actors you're faced with, as well as on the human side, what it means from the security solution standpoint. Now, I listed here some of the common things that when we think about human factor, physical measures, and technologies, what are the common things that we typically address. This is not an exclusive list in our proposal. I detailed in great level of what exactly will be in the scope, but generally speaking, when we think about a human factor in operations, we're going to touch on security personnel, law enforcement personnel, the organizational structure and the governance of the security program in the library, the policies, protocols, and procedures. Sometimes changes in those things makes the biggest impact fairly quick over many physical and technological measures. Your ability to recognize training that you have received, as well as the threat assessment program that behavioral threat assessment management program that maybe exists or does not exist in place. The level of emergency preparedness, associated protocols, procedures. We take pride in not, whatever organization we're assessing, to not leaving a stone unturned, as we said. Anything that touches security will be analyzed. On a physical standpoint, when we think about our concentric layers of defense, we will start from the perimeter of your sites to building envelope to interior of the sites and specific areas that are housing your most critical assets, and also areas where events or incidents of concern typically materialize. We have done assessments of quite a few libraries over the course of our 15 years being in business, and familiar pretty well with the landscape and dynamics in those libraries. On the technology side, we certainly we have subject matter expertise when it comes to surveillance systems, access control systems, communication systems, threat detection systems. And one of the important things that we need to bring to the table here is not only we have expertise in the latest and greatest and most systems, but many times what happens is there's this overarching desire to get a lot of different technological solutions, which results in multiple platforms that you have to manage and operate, which makes it very difficult. And sometimes, right, then there's a desire to kind of integrate those platforms to talk to each other, which never optimal. We are really good at this unification concept, which is the latest and greatest kind of industry trend, is to unify different technological systems used to be part of a platform, of one platform that you use. And I think you, as a county, you're already using great platforms. There's a lot of possibility for supporting the library services, which we'll dig in and of course uncover. I will start assessment. As I mentioned earlier, we believe in a layered security strategy. Well, a layered security strategy means that there's not a single security measure that is completely effective. There's concept known as defense in depth. And the idea behind the defense in depth is just that. It's just having multiple security solutions, typically 2 or more layers, designed to protect a specific asset, understanding fully that not a single security solution is 100% effective at protecting the asset. And this is why the depth part of that concept is. This is what you're going to get from us. This is how the assessment will be done. And this is how the recommendations will fall with this specific concept in mind. So specifically, what are we going to do here for the library services? As part of the risk assessment, you are going to receive initially our project management plan. And I'll talk a little bit about our project management and how to approach this. We also pride ourselves in effective project management and also fully transparent project management, where members of your team will have access to our project management software. If you would like to, you can see exactly all the tasks, the milestones, the schedules. You can see in real time who does what today, and you can see in real time what task has been completed today and is going to be completed tomorrow and next week. So you have a complete transparency and access to everything happens. There is no secret. We're very transparent up front. Together, we'll design this project management plan to make sure that it fits your timeline. We understand the 6 months requirement that is set forth in the RFP, and we believe we can definitely meet it. From there, you will receive assets definition. Understanding what are the assets we're protecting in each and every library is very important, and the criticality. We'll conduct a threat assessment. That is going to be a combination of reviewing of the incidents, the type of incident happened in each library over the course of several few years. We'll also leverage our law enforcement partners to get a law enforcement data that allows us to understand what has transpired, not only at the libraries, but in the vicinity of the libraries. We are leveraging also a close partner of CAP Index or CrimeCast. They have it's a criminal forecasting service that allows us to understand the area, the specific neighborhoods in which the libraries are located. Not only what has historically happened from a crime standpoint, but more importantly, the crime forecasting, what is expected to happen in the future. That is very important when we're making decisions about risk of each library. That is all going to be part of threat assessment. From there, our team will start to identify potential vulnerabilities in those three domains of human side, technological, and physical measures. And I'll explain you how we're going to do that. Once we collect this information, you also receive a risk analysis from us. It's going to be both, as I mentioned, qualitative, meaning descriptive. It's going to explain exactly what the risk is in each library, and quantitative. It's going to be allow you to really use those numbers as a way to also measure your progress on the back end, meaning how much money you invest in the solution, how much risk you're able to lower as a result of that. We'll prioritize the protective measures for each and every library in the scope. That's going to be based not on how much it costs or not on ease of implementation, rather on the ability to reduce risk, which is very important when you think about prioritization of security measures. You'll receive also a detailed prioritized budget, however, based on a schematic design level. It's not going to be 100% budget, because 100% budget you only get when it comes to physical technological solutions when you get to the level of detailed design. But this is going to be within the 95% range of accuracy. And from there, after we have compiled the draft report, which you'll have a chance to review, comment, give it to us for feedback, and we submit the final report, we'll be happy to come back and deliver a presentation, executive presentation, to all the decision makers who needs to be in the room and understand exactly what we've done, understand the findings, understand the plan of action moving forward. We have done this process for many of our government clients, and it works. As I mentioned, on product management side, we use program called Teamwork. For example, it's really good, easy to use, pretty robust platform. You will have access to it if you wish. If you don't. From the very beginning, we map out the project. We identify each milestone and tasks necessary to complete each milestone. We, from the very beginning, typically we will schedule every 2 weeks progress meeting, so you know exactly what happens. You'll be able to ask questions. We will have a central point of contact from our team, and we typically prefer to have a central point of contact from your team, and the two can certainly work together. We are creating also secure SharePoint site. We use Microsoft Office 365. We use Azure for everything, so everything is safe, secure, and encrypted. And we'll create that safe, secure, encrypted SharePoint site for us to share information, upload documents, and work through. When it comes to doing the actual site assessment, it starts with a pre-assessment information analysis. After the kickoff, we will work on developing a project plan and also sending you pre-assessment information that's going to have site-specific information request as well as organization information request. You will work on compiling that and putting it into our SharePoint. From there, we'll start scheduling interviews with the right decision makers on an organizational level as well as on a site level. We will likely meet with each and every one of them at the site level when we do our site visits, which is going to be the next step. We're going to schedule our site-specific visits for each and every library. Our team will visit every single library in the scope. From there, we'll progress to do an assessment on an organizational level. That's a combination of resources, budget allocated, policies, procedures, and other information. Once we collect everything that we need, we will analyze it. We'll run it through our framework and methodology, and we'll start generating our report. We'll first put together a draft report that's going to give you a chance, draft reports, I should say, and an overarching org level one draft report. That's an important thing to note. You will receive from us for each library in the scope, you will receive a specific report for that library, as well as you receive an organizational report that's going to summarize the findings from for all individual sites, as well as summarize the budget and the priorities and requirements necessary. I think it's important. You will receive drafts of each type. You give you a chance to review, comment, give us feedback. And it's a really good process. Sometimes, some parts of information may not be 100% accurate. Some things might need to be addressed a bit more. That's great. A lot of feedback. We'll take your feedback. We'll make the necessary changes. We'll present you the final reports. And after that, we'll work on scheduling executive presentation as needed. Sure, stay on time here. Okay, part of the assessment, you'll receive both, I mentioned qualitative risk assessment, that it's gonna be a foundation for how we approach prioritizing our recommendations. There's some examples here of prioritized options for considerations. And that's another important point, that the language for the recommendations will be, there will be some critical recommendations, and there'll be others listed as options for consideration. It's important from your standpoint. The budget, as you'll see example here, will also be prioritized based on the ability to reduce risk, which is very nice because you are able to actually show progress to your constituents of how much in dollars that you invested or going to invest, or how much risk they're going to reduce, and how that's going to improve the safety and security of the libraries. So that's going to be very well outlined here. And the last thing, we have provided two options when it comes to the work scope. The two options that we have outlined in a proposal, which you can see in great level of detail in the proposal itself, is one is option where we assess 10, as you mentioned in the RFP, at least 10 specific libraries. And we issue an organizational level report based on those 10 visits. And or we assess all the 26 libraries plus organization levels assessment. You can probably understand the benefits of each option. The 26 is going to allow you to have 26 reports with the detailed recommendations and options for considerations for each and every library. If that's unnecessary, and if you believe that those 10 are good representative chunk of the rest, you certainly can go this route and try to apply our methodology and approach here to the other ones. That's kind of in your hands, but we want to give you be flexible and give you those options. In terms of this timeline here that is put in our proposal, and I have incorporated here, is based on option 1, meaning 10. But we, for option 2, we'll have to add roughly 2 to 3 weeks to this process. That is the timeline. Again, we believe we will be well within your 6 months requirement. You can see in front of you the investment options that I have also outlined for in the proposal. The investment options include all expenses required for this project. It also includes the required 80 hours, I believe, for the post-proposal consultation. I'm not sure if you have, I think you believe you have it. We'll also be happy to work with you after that to support any additional implementation needs as a result of this project. We want to make sure, for my team, it's always the most rewarding part of this work is when the work we do and think through and design and put in paper actually materializes and it starts working. So our full intent is we don't want to just put a document that is nice to sit on the shelf, but that's never good for anyone. We try to make it so it's actionable, and by making it actionable, it has to fit within your budget, it has to fit within your resources, and it has to work. And so we also want to be a resource for you after this to support whatever it's needed to get it done. So that's it. If you scan this QR code, you'll be able to get my contact information if you would like, and I can get yours. That is it for me. Hope I was within the time frame.
Yep.
Great.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for providing your presentation. And we will go ahead and open it up to the committee for any questions that you have for him. Who wants to go first?
So Michael, I've been reading, and then you mentioned it today, you've done a lot of libraries. So could you kind of overview what I'm interested is, pick one, could be City of Chicago, or could be one of the others that you listed in your proposal, and kind of summarize what you did, what your recommendations were, and if those recommendations were implemented, what the results were.
Yeah. Okay. One of the maybe good examples, Chicago is a good, Minneapolis, Texas, Garland, Texas. We assessed all city facilities in Garland, Texas, and part of them was the libraries. The type of issues they have had before was, quite frankly, primarily dealing with low-level crime events, homeless, a lot of the homeless activities that generate also drug-related activities right inside and just outside the libraries. And part of what we discovered was was insufficient security coverage and presence. There's almost no law enforcement presence. The security personnel that was put in place there, they had no practical training on how to deal with the type of things that they were tasked to deal with. So they were left with observe and report, and the report resulted in no action. And so ultimately, the people that continued to kind of cause the problems for the libraries, whether it's small criminal activities and such, was unaddressed. The design, if you're familiar with SEPTED principles, the design of the libraries was such that it encouraged criminal activities. It made it easy for those to take place from a concealment area standpoint, from poor lighting standpoint, just from overall maintenance of the site standpoint. All those were factor. There was no real natural surveillance or kind of territorial enforcement of what happened. So we addressed all those things in our recommendations. As a result of our work, city marshals, they had city marshals program. City marshals took responsibility for securing the libraries. And that was a major change. And they gradually started implementing physical changes to the way things were laid out. Putting different benches, removing concealment areas, cleaning up certain areas, adding different the surveillance program too. Each library had their own surveillance camera system that was really used in a very reactive way. So once the incident happens, they could review what happened. Really, that was the extent of it. No one was able to monitor anything. No feed was going anything. So we helped them unify this in a centralized platform and work with the city to make the libraries be part of the overall city surveillance system for city buildings. Helped big time. And so those are just some examples in the city of Garland. We have others, Tamarack, Minneapolis, I can go through. I hope that's answered your question.
Yeah, thank you. A follow-up. Is there anything you can talk about in terms of any recommendations in training of staff and handling encounters with the public that could turn into a security issue?
Absolutely. Yeah, in fact, we have provided, and it's part of our trainings that we provide on a regular basis to many organizations, both in public and private sector, is the idea of situational awareness and crisis response training. I'm a certified threat manager, and part of what I'm trying to bring to the table is just ability to understand for people to meet people where they're at. Many times we can de-escalate most of the situation by simply being there, listening, allowing the people to be seen and heard. And kind of doing those three things in a proper way allows to many times de-escalate many things. And also with the right situational awareness, you can proactively communicate and ask for help for the right personnel to be on site before things escalate. We just completed similar training a little bit months ago for Minnesota Office of Administrative Hearing. It's a state agency in the state of Minnesota. We did it for just about 200 of their employees that are public facing employees. So very well experienced, and it's part of what we do. Thank you.
So for Colorado and the services that you provide for the city of Nevada, including city libraries, I'm curious, how many libraries do that include?
Not many. It was 2.
Yeah.
I believe that was 2. Pretty sure it was 2, but I have to refer back to 2 or 3. Not many libraries.
And in Texas?
Texas, I have to, so city of Dallas. But we have a number of projects in Texas. I don't know which project in Texas you're referring to. But,
For number of libraries?
yeah, it's over 100 libraries. We do a number of municipalities in overall state of Texas. City of Dallas alone, I believe, we had something like 54 libraries in our scope.
Touched on this with your example, for how on human elements, can you give some other examples of approaches that you've recommended for human like situations? For example, we have schools that are tied in with some of our libraries or near, and so we get a lot of students, things like that.
So your question is, what kind of human-based strategy when it comes to libraries that are part of the schools?
Schools that are or near located close to schools where when schools let out, we get an influx of students. Like we sometimes have some issues there.
Yep. Well, now when it comes to the human side, students, school specific, we, as I mentioned, we believe that, and we see it, that no incident just happens. They're not, many times they're not random. When it comes to, there's a combination of ability for the school personnel and our library personnel, to detect potential signs of someone contemplating to do something malicious, some behavioral analysis from that standpoint. And when it comes to threats, is having the right program and process in place when people are issuing threats or acting in a threatening manner to be able to properly assess, classify, and manage those threats. But combination of behavioral analysis, teaching your personnel what to look for, what to do when they see that, and on an internal side, how to assess and manage potential threatening situation goes a long way. So, and that encompasses training, encompasses procedures, encompasses qualifications of different personnel in your libraries. Did I answer the question? Good.
Just a quick one. In a proposal you talk about under project management QA, the subject matter expert would be assigned. Who would that be on the team that you presented? Like, who would be the SME? I guess focused with the library expertise.
So as I mentioned, ultimately it's going to be me. So the project stops with me. I'm the project executive. But we're going to have, when you look at the team, we're going to have certain, so Matthew here, Matthew on this team is going to be the person point, who's going to be the point of contact. Is going to function as a project manager for this project. Carly will provide support. And Hermela, and from our team, she'll provide additional support. But ultimately, it's going to be me, the recommendations here, the actual recommendations, the content that you'll receive is going to be coming, is going to be reviewed and approved and coming from me.
Okay. So Matthew would be the main PM. Either your point of contact is we would have a point of contact to do that.
With all the libraries that you have completed risk assessments for, how much of the suggestions for implementations have they taken heart and been able to implement themselves? Have they taken the opportunity to implement any of the recommendations that you made, or were they resistant to it?
You know, resistant. Okay, so resistant. Okay, so I don't think we have a library thinking this through carefully. I don't think we have full transparency. I don't think we have a library client that we've done work that, to my knowledge, as I sit here right now, that has fully implemented all the recommendations. However, I don't think I have a library service right now that did not implement any of our recommendations. What I mean by that is that part of the assessment here is we are considering the organization culture. We're understanding what is acceptable for the library service in your community. We're getting the input from the stakeholders, from the, very people that work in the libraries. And we also understand your budget and ability to do it. So I think typically most critical recommendations that we put together are implemented by almost all of our customers, but not all of the recommendations are implemented. And the resistance, if you're asking for specific, I have a couple of specific examples. For example, we had one library, one library service. Those libraries are part of the county orders were done. Few specific libraries located in they had also actually a school, early start. Head Start program part of this campus. And because of the kids, and also happened to be that those libraries were located in a very high crime areas, and the number of shootings, for example, and all the crimes in the neighborhood was astronomically high. It was, when I was doing assessment, there was a deputy there that said they're gonna escort me around the buildings, just in the middle of the day because it was that dangerous. It's an interesting world. I know where that is. We recommended, part of the recommendations was the personnel, I think they were very vulnerable, so we recommended putting ballistic protection for the front desk receptionist. We also suggested active threat response integrated program where it's a combination of gunshot detection sensors. They're wired, connected with mass notifications, with access control to speed up the response and to those events. And that was met with resistance. And so we had to walk through it a bit and kind of navigate this resistance. The people at the site really wanted those things, but at the kind of county level, there was some more perception-based concerns of how this thing's going to be viewed because it's a library. We don't necessarily want ballistic protection to be like, it looks like we are standoffish. So we had to navigate those thoughts with the decision makers.
Thank you.
I might add another one. So under the assessment phase in the project, you had listed a task of conduct an independent red team evaluation of select locations, security operations. So what would that kind of look like for a library, a red team operation at a library?
It's an optional service.
Yeah.
So it's an optional part of assessment. It is, typically in a library environment of this is about simply accessibility and many times it's just leaving items that could be of concern, simulating leaving items of concern. So just testing accessibility and concealment areas. So typically libraries have, sometimes you have assets like, your storage that has, books and such of value that it's, attempting to access those areas. Or we've done, for example, displaying suspicious behavior, right? So someone who is in and around the lobby or outside and just observing the protocols and procedures that exist in place to detect it, notify, act on those things. It's a most practical way sometimes to identify vulnerabilities, rather than just hypothetical pointing out. It's not necessary every time. It's an optional add-on that we could do, and it's discussed on a library by library. Typically, once we recognize those that have a higher value, higher assets, potentially higher risks, those are the ones that we try to suggest doing this.
So the testing would be like, so we have like employee-only areas. Because we're like retail, we open the door, everybody comes in, but we have employee-only areas where. So that's there would be testing.
That's right. Someone will try to gain them access there.
Yeah, and then behavior, maybe coming in and behaving in a certain way to see if employees cue on that and take.
That's right. Take an action. That's right.
Okay, great. Thank you. You mentioned Garland, Texas. Dallas is in here too, right? Did you know all the Dallas public libraries or
Yeah, so as part of our Dallas work, whole, the entire, all
all
the
city of Dallas?
That's right, all city of Dallas,
Okay. Yeah, which obviously would be very broad, right?
1,000 something.
Yeah. And then on the training piece, Michael, would you, so you'd be recommending maybe some training if you found that in your, and would you be able to provide us with sources for that training? I mean, I know you're a training company too, but would you be able to provide us yours, maybe other sources?
Yeah,
Where
definitely.
we get the training?
You know, generally speaking, like if, from the very beginning, right, so we, when it comes to, uh, reports, right, reports itself, in a risk assessment report, we're staying away from listing specific vendors and products, if that makes sense. Rather, we talk about functional requirements. Here's the type of training, here's the type of solution you need for this. The next phase, right, which is, I think we have those 80 hours select for implementations. If you would ask us, could you list us specific vendors for this, and this? Yes, most definitely. And furthermore, if you need their assistance in reaching out, evaluating their responses, etc.
Writing and taking notes, so. Yes.
Yeah. While they're doing that, I'll mention this. So you mentioned cap index, which I'm familiar with. So every library that you would do an assessment on, you would run a cap index report. And that would be wrapped up in your report
Absolutely.
to show
That's
that
wrapped
prime
up in my
data for
report.
that neighborhood.
Yes, sir. Part of our standard approach to do it for everyone.
And that'll be for each branch. specifically?
This is for each branch. specific. The map, I'm not familiar with the maps and the
Others
numbers,
may not be put down.
but there's a specific crime mapping as a result of that. That's very visually descriptive. You're gonna get the actual number analysis, the qualitative analysis, and also the map that is gonna be included in every one of our reports.
Questions, maybe? Jennifer? Okay, good. Okay. Sounds like we have no other questions. Again, we
Okay.
really appreciate you being here, Michael, for representing your firm, and we will go ahead and close out the meeting. I will stop the recording, so we can close out this meeting, and we will keep everyone posted on, when the meeting will be available once all the other oral presentations are complete. So thank you again.
Yeah.